Hey folks, how you all doing? So today I thought I would do another retro review of an old album. This album's 52 years old this year. It was released in 1972. It was the 8th studio album by Kenny Rogers and first edition. It's called The Ballad of Calico. It is a double album. It's a concept album, and it was released 3 years before Kenny Rogers made his solo career. So as I said, it's a double album. I'll only show you the first vinyl. They're all both the same. This one's on the Reprise label. This one's actually recorded the correct way, like a lot of old albums were. On the first album vinyl, you've got side 1, side 4. Second one, you've got side 2, side 3. That's because a lot of the record players in the old days were multi-stackers, so you could stack it so you could play 1, 2, take it up, flip them over, and then you can play 3 and 4 in that order instead of keep going side 1, take it off, side 2, take it off, etc. etc. Now, first edition, they were a rock band, they were a country band, they were a psychedelic rock band, did all sorts of things, not just country, which is what Kenny Rogers is known for. But as I said, this album is a concept album. It tells fictional stories of real people who lived in a California town called Calico, which is incidentally now a ghost town. But back in the late 1800s, it was a silver mining town, and the concept of the album sort of focuses on that, and the real people that were there at that time, but with their own stories to tell, as told by this band. Now, there are primarily 5 members of this band. Kenny Rogers does not do all the singing on this album. He sings on probably 3 or 4 of the 19 tracks, with 3 of them being instrumental. So he basically sings on a quarter of the album. The other members of the band sing, so it gives a character song type thing happening. But yeah, I'll run through the tracks really quickly, give you my overall thoughts, etc. And hopefully this may be an album that piques your curiosity into going to seek it out. So it basically tells the story of a farmer who leaves his home state because of drought, goes to California and to Calico in particular, to try his luck at silver mining. And the songs also tell the stories of various other people in town and what went on in the town at that time, in those lawless, wild times. So the album opens up on side 1 with Sunrise Overture. It's a gorgeous little classical instrumental. It goes on for about a minute and a half, minute 50, which just opens up the track nicely, album nicely. Comes in at 7 out of 10 from me. So I'll quit what I'm doing. I'm going to go through the tracks one by one, tell you a little about the tracks, what the sort of music is on them, and what score I would give them out of 10. Then overall I'll give you a score for the whole album. So track number 2, side 1, Calico Silver, tells the story of the farmer leaving his home state because of drought, coming to seek his fame and fortune and riches in the silver rush of the late 1800s in California. This one comes in at 7 out of 10. It's a country flavoured tune. Track number 3, Write Me Down. This has a real wailing rock sound, sort of like the stuff of that Paul McCartney was doing on his first couple of solo albums. Just those wailing vocals and a really bluesy rock vibe. This is really, really good. 8.5 out of 10. Track number 4, The Way It Used to Be, tells a story of the day-to-day happenings in Calico. There's nothing specific with characters or individuals. It's just an overview and glimpse of life in Calico, or any of those silver mining or gold mining towns of that particular period. It's a soft rock ballad, and this one comes in at 8 out of 10. Track number 5 and the final track on side 1 of the first LP. Madame DeLille and Diabolical Bill. This tells the story of Calico's saloon keeper, Madame DeLille, and her boyfriend, Diabolical Bill. He obviously wasn't called Diabolical Bill originally, but that's what he is in the song. It's loosely based on the stories handed down that she scared him off out of town one way or another, from stealing from her and her saloon. Um, yeah, it's just really, really solid rock song, and this one comes in at 8 out of 10. Now we're on with side 2 of record 1. This opens up with a song called School Teacher. It's a soft rock song about the actual school teacher in that town during those heady days, Virginia Merritt, and how she left town. She got married and left the town basically and moved on to greener pastures. So they're just wholesome stories about people, everyday town basically, which could have been any gold rush towns I said in USA at that time. That one comes in at 8 out of 10. Track number 2, Road Agent. Now, Road Agent, I didn't know what that was, but when you look it up, they are highwaymen, basically. And this one tells the story. It's an Americana sounding song. Tells the story of a dead highwayman. We don't see how he died or understand how he died. Whether it was natural causes, I would presume that he probably got shot, because that's the life they led. But yeah, 7.5 out of 10 for that one. Track number 3 on this side, Sally Gray's Epitaph. Now this song is a solid ballad. It's a ballad. It was built around the words that are actually on her, i.e. Sally Gray's, headstone in Calico, in the Calico cemetery. So yeah, they've read the epitaph on the headstone. They've sort of added bits to it and created a song. Absolutely brilliant. 8.5 out of 10. Track number 4 and the last track on this side, on side 2, is Dorsey, the Mail Carrying Dog. This song's got a very music hall vibe to it. Might have sounded wouldn't have sounded too out of place if it was played in a saloon. Actually, it's got that vibe, that music hall sort of barroom piano vibe to it. It's a novelty tune basically, and at the end of the song, all members of the band all bark like dogs just to quickly finish the song, which is a bit corny, but this whole song is corny. It's novelty and it's musical. 7.5 out of 10. Side 3, or LP number 2, side 1, opens with Harbour for My Soul. This one is a rock gospel tune. It's really, really good. It's just a solid rock song, and then you come in with the female gospel vocals in the chorus, and it's just absolutely brilliant. Probably my favourite track on the album. 9 out of 10. Second track on side 3, Calico, Saturday Night. It's an instrumental, it's up tempo, and it sounds like the sort of piece of music that would be played in a saloon back in those days, on a Saturday night, on a rough and rowdy Saturday night. 7 out of 10. Track 3 on this side is called Trigger Happy Kid. It's about a young boy who fantasizes about being a gunfighter, and just thoughts going on in his head. He doesn't want to be do what his dad does. He fantasizes about this glamorous life of being a gunfighter, outlaw, etc. This one's strictly country. Lots and lots of slide guitar on this. 9 out of 10 is probably a close second for me after the Harbour for My Soul track, which I just mentioned. Track number 4 is called Vachel Carlin's Rubelator. Vachel Carlin is a con man, known back in those times. He comes to town with this invention that's going to revolutionize Calico. Now, we don't know in the song what a rubelator is. I've actually googled it, can't find any information as to what it is. So it's not told in the song. It's up to you and how you interpret the lyrics as to what you think it might be. To me, it sounds sort of like a music box, like a Um, yeah, just a wind-up music box with songs on it because it talks about them singing and whatever. That's how I interpret it, but you could interpret it totally different. It's a soft rock song, has a gospel slash country feel to it. 8.5 out of 10. Finally, we get to side 4 of this one, of this double album set. Track 1, Empty Handed Compadres. This is a fiddle based rock song, which tells an all too familiar story of people who went, to follow their dreams for the gold rush and the silver rush and all these other rushes all over the world, not just America, and leave everything behind and just poverty stricken. They don't find their riches, and they're just broken souls at the end of it, and that's what this song basically talks about. 8.5 out of 10. Track number 2 on this side is called One Lonely Room. It's a piano-based ballad, and it sort of tells the story of a guy that won't leave the town. Once the town's deserted, the silver rush is over, everyone leaves town and moves on to the next thing. He's not leaving. He's staying there regardless of whether there's any people there or not, and you ain't going to move him, basically. And that's another all too familiar case of what happened during those times, and even modern times here in Australia with the gold rushes and stuff. You hear of people that just didn't refuse to leave town once the rushes died, and they become ghost towns. 9 out of 10. Great song. Track number 3 on this side. It's a short instrumental. It's about 1.5 minutes long. It's called Rocking Chair Theme. It's not really a song as such. You hear the squeaking of a rocking chair and a bit of acoustic guitar played over the top of it. It's sort of a link between the last song and the next song. That's all it is. It's not really a song, so I'm not really going to score that one. Track number 4 on this side, the second last song on the album, is called Old Mojave Highway. It's basically a song about the old Mojave highway, which is now called Interstate 15 in California. It has an Americana sound to it, sort of almost, let's say, America, the rock band, soft rock band America from the early 70s, mid 70s. It sort of sounds like their style, for want of a better comparison. 8 out of 10. Finally, track number 5, Man Who Came Up From Town. Another song which could have been about anywhere town in any country during any gold rush or silver rush, any rush anywhere. It's a piano ballad. It's about a guy who gets lost in the mountains. They send out a search party to find him, and he's found dead, basically. It's just one of those sad songs which, as I said, happen way too often in too many places around the world. But that one comes in at 8 out of 10. Finally, the album closes with the Calico Silver reprise. So the first Calico Silver track on side 1 was about the farmer coming and, laying down roots to seek out his fame and fortune. This one is the reprise. It's about the death of a town, and when the silver's all dried up, and the track actually ends as it fades into the run out groove. It's just the wind blowing. You can hear the wind blowing. It just sounds so desolate, but yeah, it's really good. What can I say? It's only 1.5 minutes, not a 2-minute track, maybe a bit longer than 2 minutes, but not much. And your heart just drops after you've gone through the whole album with the ups and downs of the music and the stories, and you just hear that windswept landscape. It's just, it just ties the whole album in and brings it back together. So overall, this is an excellent album. You don't have to like Kenny Rogers or country to appreciate this album. As I said, he sings on probably 4 of the tracks. Yeah, you can tell it's him singing on those tracks, but it's not a Kenny Rogers album. It's not a country album. It's just a solid concept album, a rock album, basically, with lots of different styles on it. This album didn't sell back in the day. It peaked at number 118 on the US charts, didn't chart anywhere else. Only one single released from it, School Teacher, that charted at number 91 in the US, so it was a huge failure. I would say there's a lot on this album that you could compare to The Band, as in the band called The Band. There's little hints of America on here, little hints of the soft rock and Americana sounds of the Eagles as well, without being the Eagles or America, but there's a lot of influences that you could compare this to The Band. It's just a really, really good landscape of a story of a town from its building up to eventual fall, as I said, which could have happened anywhere in the world. The group ended up recording a further 4 albums over the next 2 years before they disbanded. All members of the band ended up having varying degrees of success, either as songwriters, musicians, session musicians, touring musicians with other people. A couple of these guys on here actually toured with Bob Dylan in the 60s and the 70s. They seem to have all disappeared into oblivion since the 1980s, except for Kenny Rogers, I guess. He was the one that really became famous due to this, and his solo career started in 1975. Mega hits through the 1970s and into the 1980s, and a couple in the 1990s as well. Probably the biggest country star of his era. But this, as I said, this isn't a country album. But yeah, Kenny Rogers and the first edition, The Ballad of Calico, worth picking up if you ever see it anywhere secondhand. That's the only place you're going to find it at the moment. It's out of print. It's not available on CD. But if you do find it, it's well worth it, just as a solid concept rock album. Anyway, guys, let me know in the comments section below. Are you familiar with this album? Have I sparked your interest in picking this album up? If so, great. If not, well, you're not gonna like it anyway, I guess, if you're not interested in the band, sort of American soft rock, Americana. And yeah, I just think it's a really, really good album. I found it secondhand. Most copies are the secondhand. The original copies, original impressions, also had like a booklet in here. This doesn't have the booklet, that's disappeared over time somewhere, but it had hand-drawn pictures relating to each song and the lyrics and handwritten lyrics, and yeah, it was just a real good photo shoot and song placement of what that particular era was like. Anyway, guys, let me know in the comments section below what you think of this album, if you've heard it, if you haven't heard it, etc. Or if it's piqued your interest. Anyway, guys, stay safe, take care. All for now, catch you around, and bye, folks.